osprey right now. About to dive. There it goes. And it missed. The lake is glass. So I don't know how much sailing we'll do today. But fortunately, the antelope paddles quite well. I'd say we're going knot and a half. The sun is still rising. It's about 8:30, 8:45. It's gonna be hot. So I'm going to stay out of the way of the fishermen, but try to find a nice cozy cove to explore a little bit. This is Cowan Lake, Wilmington, Ohio. I've not paddled here before. Many years ago, competed in a triathlon, so I have in fact swam more miles in this lake than I have paddled or sailed. Probably not after today. So really, we're just exploring. The wind is supposed to pick up in the afternoon. I do plan on being out here for quite a while. You can hear the Canada geese coming in for a flyby. One thing I'm noticing here that I don't see at a lot of other spots are duck blinds. I really don't know when the duck season is. There are, unfortunately, impromptu duck blinds, but these are very obviously established. And sometimes you see that at parks. They'll have pre-set up duck blinds for folks to rent out during the season, certain times. Haven't explored that too much. I have not hunted game in a long time. Many decades. It's just a little fish jumping. No wonder that osprey was out. But the water is so still. So absolutely still. It's glass. I can see the dust particles resting on top of it. It is so still. But fortunately, it's early enough in the morning that there's still a little bit of steam coming up. Quite romantic. That's why I always try to get out as early as I can. One, just so the ramp is quiet, not get in anyone's way. But also those misty mornings on the lake are a lot of the charm. Eat the heat. One thing I'd like to do though that I have never done is an evening sail. Maybe pack a dinner, cast out. Could be fun. Crossing this cove, I'm about halfway. Once I get to the other side, see if there's a nice place to stop. I see a duck blind and some folks fishing at the tip of the cove. So if I can hide in there, I will be in the shade. Might be a nice place to stop and tool with the rigging a little bit. But as I said, we're not going to be sailing for a while, so. One of my next projects for this boat would be some sort of attachment to fit to the transom in order that I might scull. I enjoy paddling this way. It is obviously quite traditional for this area. I had to reposition, my leg was falling asleep. I have a feeling that's going to happen a lot. I'm debating whether I should drop the lee board. See if it doesn't help track a little bit. I have one tiny little guy on the back underneath the boat for tracking. The word is eluding me at the moment. It was somewhat of an afterthought on the craft. We weren't sure how we wanted to implement it. And of course I put it too small. So it is there. It does function. But not as well as I had hoped. I'm much more productive on my right side paddling. Unfortunately, I have somewhat perfected my J stroke. It's a little noisy, maybe a little sloppy, but it's incredible how it works. Years and years of canoeing, never knew that was a thing, so someone showed me. Of course, it took a lot of practice. I would always bring a paddle out with my kayak, sit on my knees if I could. Fortunately, my kayak has a removable seat. A project maybe for next year. I've purchased kayak frame plans, a skin-on frame actually. Had planned to make that this summer. But the most challenging portion of that is a lot of it requires tracing, and I unfortunately bought a digital plan. And that digital plan, it's a frame, right? And it's a frame that you have to cut out with a jigsaw. So if you're cutting with a jigsaw, you have to trace, and unfortunately the very fine lines and curves of this plan did not come with any measurements. So the only way to do it would be to print the plan out, the digital plan out, on paper to scale, the exact precise scale. And I don't know if any of you have ever tried to scale something on a computer without actual dedicated software, and then have it printed to scale. You know, so we're talking something like a 4x8, 4x4, maybe the smallest sheet of paper, or multiple pieces of paper that you would have to stitch together. And I kind of lost it there. So I'm looking for a different, if anybody wants to build a boat Duckworks, other places you can get free plans. Maybe your preferred content creator or something may have plans. YouTube is full of that, fortunately. Many of those folks, helped us with the antelope. But I would recommend, if you do get digital plans, buy the paper plans. You're gonna want them. I mostly work out of a garage. It's a disconnected garage. The garage, funnily enough, larger square foot than my own home. It was built that way. Someone, the previous owner, built it in the 60s. It is a wonderful woodworking shop, but it is just far enough away from our routers that I get terrible spotty service. Some days it's better than others. Many times I've been out there wishing that I had a Wi-Fi extender, or that I would run a cable out, or something to that effect. So paper planes, always a much better idea than you think. You're like, oh, they're gonna get dirty, they're gonna get ripped, they're gonna get broken. Sure, you might appreciate that. Who knows? Ooh, this water is so still. It is green also. I hunt several lakes around here. I have a loop I do of probably 4 or 5 lakes. This one I was hoping to add. I'd never really come here because this is very close to another very large, very popular lake. So I always skip to this one, thinking, oh, it's too small. I'll explore that whole thing in a day. But, what? No. We're going to be here. We're going to explore it. And I'm liking it so far. It's very easy in and out. It's very quiet. We are truly out in nowhere, Ohio, which I like. I am so on the cusp of places like this. Small town Ohio, but still very close to some large metropolitan areas, so we can get our downtown on if we ever feel like it. All the big music acts tend to come through the bigger towns, so it's worth it to at least know what's going on at the big town. There we go. But point earlier, this lake is kind of green. This time of year, they can be like this. I've noticed they're actually quite better this year than they have been in past years in terms of algae and growth. The dreaded green-blue algae very often in these lakes. You have to be really careful about swimming. Several actual small county lakes near my home are closed to boating at the moment and fishing due to algae problems and wastewater problems. We are very close to farms, and unfortunately that farm water drains into these lakes and streams, and obviously has its own bacteria issues, but it also causes algae blooms and growths. And the algae is often very dangerous, deadly even, I think. So I'm told. But the bigger lakes usually don't have that issue. Much more open water, more movement, the wind carrying across it, I suppose. I'm no scientist in that regard. But the smaller lakes tend to have that problem. Another lake I frequent, which is a small, quiet lake that I enjoy, mostly because I can do the whole thing in an hour or two. Roughly the same size, I think, in total area of this lake, just much longer and narrower. This is very wide. It's beautiful. I'm so amazed that I have not been here before. I hope you all can sort of see behind me, this wide open space. We'll try to include some footage of that as well. But yeah, let's start there and see. I see. Osprey in the frame there. So I stopped in for a bit of a snack, breakfast if you will, in a shady spot, and lo and behold, I think we have the fabled wind has finally kicked in. We're only expecting about 5 knots today. Should start around 11, but this is very optimistic. This wind blowing in, I'm feeling good about this. Alright, I gotta turn off the camera because I'm drifting away and I took the anchor up.